Good evening, and you're welcome back to the Women's National League podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. It's episode 29, I think, but I've lost count at this stage. Aaron Clark's with me again this week. Aaron, what a weekend. A bit of an anticlimax, perhaps, with the way the league title ran out, but super impressive from Shels when it mattered most. 4-0 winners. They win the league. Probably, maybe the best team in the country wins the league. Is that fair to say?
They have been, yes, but they've had their blips, they've had their ups and downs. It's probably allowed teams back into it, but there's been some ultimate brilliant performances from some teams this season. I think from Shelbourne point of view, Saturday was probably their best performance of the season, and they probably kept that to the last second half. They were excellent in the second half, and one thing I want to say is I still can't get over how Jessie Stapleton put that ball in the net for the first goal from such an acute angle. Like, she took the touch and then to bring it so wide and to put it into the net. I think it was a superb finish. Like, to see Athlone finishing second in the table, it's amazing. It's brilliant. We've been chatting for the last couple of months, and the one thing we've both said was, you can't write them off. You constantly can't write them off, and for them to do at their end of the bargain and not see results go their way, do you know what? It's been a magical season for them. They have a cup final to look forward to, which we'll preview in the show, and like, it's stuff of dreams considering they're only in the Women's National League 2.5 years. They're in their third season. Like, it's been a meteoric rise, and it's made the league fun this year. It's made the league enjoyable. It's everything's been brilliant to watch.
Yeah, we'll talk to Jessica Hennessy in just a couple of moments about that season and that cup final, of course, that pops up this weekend. The first ever appearance at the Blue Riband event for the Midlanders. But we'll also hear later on in the show from Shels manager Noel King. I know, Aaron, you caught up with himself and Pearl Slattery after the game, and after that league title success. Pearl will see her adorned in her league medal, and Kylie Murphy, of course, the Wexford legend. We hear from her as well after they were pipped on the last day of the season after that fantastic game on TG Carr at the weekend. But of course, we mentioned that Athlone finished second. They were in that shake-up for that league title position. They would have had to do it through a playoff if results had gone their way. They did their bit at the weekend. They had a comfortable win, but it wasn't to be for them, with Shels winning the game down in Wexford. And joining us to chat about the season so far and potentially the best finish and the best Christmas present they could get going into the end of season break would be a cup final victory on Sunday. And Jessica Hennessy joins us now. Jessica, you're very, very welcome to the program.
Hello, thanks very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. It's been a phenomenal journey watching Athlone from the outside, so I can only imagine how exciting it's been inside the camp for the last 8-9 months.
Yeah, look, it's been great. Like, I've enjoyed every minute. I know all the girls have as well, and I just think as a group we've really gotten close. And to be fair, Tommy has that bond with us as well. And no, look, it's been great. Like, and we're kind of sad that it's finishing now, but hopefully we get the cup. But if we don't, we're still proud of how much we've accomplished this season. So yeah.
What would you set out as your targets at the start of the season? Everybody says, we want to finish as high as possible, but considering where you had been the last 2 seasons, what was the targets?
So first of all, Tommy was saying that we went on a good cup run, and luckily we did do that. And then more of our goals would be take points off the top teams, and we did that as well. And just most home games to win, and less like teams score against us, more clean sheets. So yeah, look, we've accomplished that, and Cumsey was brilliant in goals for us this year as well. And obviously Emily Corbett was on fire. So yeah, we were lucky that we had those two.
You talk about Emily Corbett on fire, but Madison Gibson is no slouch in front of goals either. She went on a fine run of form there for a couple of games, so she just couldn't seem to stop scoring.
Yeah, Maddie's a brilliant player. Like, I've the opposition against her, I wouldn't want to be them, but yeah, she's unreal. She knows where the net is as well.
Interesting enough, Breifne, she said on RTE that she plans to be around next year as well, which is even more scary for the other clubs. And like, what's it like in training? You've got these players come up against them. You've been able to play a consistent team pretty much throughout the season with only 1 or 2 changes here or there. What's it been like in that sense? Because a lot of teams you see in mix and match where Athlone haven't had to do that.
Yeah, I know. one of our starters, Fiona Owens, she done her ACL and she was a big loss for a while, and they're putting players in and trying to find someone to cover for her. But to be honest, Fiona is a massive loss for us, and hopefully she'll be back as soon as possible. But yeah, as you said, like we did have a normal like starting team, but still training was so competitive. Like everyone is fighting for a spot, and Tommy makes sure that there is 2 for every position. So it does keep training high intensity and competitive. But yeah, like it is good that you do have the normal like starters and like Aaron and Laurie that will drive the team on as well. So in those scenarios, it is good.
Both those girls you mentioned, of course, in playing at a fairly high level in Gaelic football as well. Even Murren currently involved in a campaign. I know it ended at the weekend with her club in the Connacht Club Championship, featured with Leitrim this season. Laurie was involved with Clare as well. How hard is it to keep that unity within the squad when players are distracted? I know even Roisin Malloy played a bit with Sligo for a period as well. So that's been a feature of the Athlone side that we don't necessarily see in other clubs. So how does it work for Athlone when it doesn't for other clubs?
I think Tommy, to be fair, is very open-minded about playing Gaelic. The girls never miss a training, they never miss a game. So I think everyone like on their team, like me, I don't mind them playing Gaelic at all. Just because like they don't miss training, so they're doing nothing wrong in my eyes, if that makes any sense. But yeah, we haven't had any troubles or like problems with it. I know Laurie's missing her, I think it's a Munster final or something on Sunday. That's unfortunate for her. But other than that, I don't think there's ever really been a problem with it at all or anything like that. So we're lucky in that scenario, like.
Yeah, I heard that today about the Munster ladies football final. But in terms of the squad itself, when did you start to believe that you could challenge for a league title and you could push yourself all the way through to get to a cup final?
I think when we bet Peamount at home that time, I think it was 1-0 or something. After that, I think everyone was like, Jesus, like we're able for this now. Because like last season we finished 7th and it was our 2nd season in the league. But like now this is our 3rd season and we're kind of said to ourselves like we're not newcomers anymore and like 7th isn't really good enough for us. So everyone did work hard and like put in the session. So yeah, I think the Peamount game was really just when we were like, God, like we really should go for this. That was a big result for us. That was the first time we ever came close to Peamount, to be honest. But yeah, I think it was that game that we really like put our heads down after that and said we could actually go for this.
Well, you make that seem like it's an easy thing to go from 7th to 2nd in the table. Like, we've been talking on this show for the last year and a half, whether it was Aaron or with Steph before that or whoever happened to be with us on the show, that like DLR might make that breakthrough, Galway might make that breakthrough, and they've been hovering 4th or 5th for the last couple of years. But then all of a sudden, Athlone, who, I'll be honest, none of us expected it, just came and never faded. We always kind of expected, this is going to be the week where they get beaten by Wexford or beaten by Shels or beaten by Peamount, and then you come back with the 3 points and we'd be like going, oh, bit of humble pie for me. I'm enjoying the taste of humble pie this season. It's been really refreshing. But it's worked for Athlone. What's been that secret sauce that really has driven you on that other teams haven't quite been able to do on a consistent basis?
I just think Tommy's found a system that suits us down to the ground. Like we've Roisin Malloy, that an absolute worker horse. Like she is just up and down the wing. Maddie Gibson, like Gillian, Emily. I just think we found a system that suits us, and like it just works for us basically. I think the more we started to win, the more belief we had. Because like obviously in other years we'd be like wouldn't really be getting the results that we wanted, and our heads would drop. But I think even in like the Sligo game where we were, I think it was 0-0 to like the last few minutes and Gillian got a goal. Like those type of games, if it was last season, we would just be like, oh look, we'll do a draw, we'll be fine. But I think this season we really did push ourselves and we just said like a draw isn't really good enough, that we need to win. So I think that's really what happened. Like we just decided really.
I think, Breifne, I've stopped writing them off since the time that I said there was a potential cup upset and Tommy caught me at the Shelbourne game. I was like, never again. And there's been a couple of times where I've come in and made some bold predictions here about them winning some games. But it's been great to watch them. And like, what do you say to people who say at times maybe the football isn't always pretty. But in this sort of league, it's not about at times being always pretty. It's just about getting results.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so our football might not be that pretty, but look, we're getting the results that we need. I know every team plays different. Like, during they play differently, we just like to get the ball up as quick as possible. And just the pace we have up front, why wouldn't you want the ball up that quick? So, yeah, really, like, I know we probably should be playing more football, but just at this time, however we're playing now is just suiting us down to the ground. So there's no point really changing anything yet.
I've just had a little look back to the league table since Athlone went into the league. Prior to this season, they'd won 7 league games across 2 years. And this year it's 17. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I think it's a lesson for what can be done. And I think in terms of looking from the outside in, from an Athlone point of view, it seems that the core of the team have stayed solid and have been consistently involved in that team since year one. So there hasn't been a massive turnover. We do see big turnovers in other squads, players in, players out. Other than maybe a handful of players, the core of the team have been pretty much consistent since day one. And I think that's probably part of that. Or maybe I'm completely missing the mark here.
No, I agree with that. We do still have the core, like Katie Shine, Melissa O'Kane, Emily Corbett. They've all came through that zone ranks, so they would be like a core of players. Like, we haven't really had that many players coming out. I know Coombsy's been there from the start. I've been there from the start. I haven't really been playing, but I was injured and all. But yeah, like, we do have that core, and that did benefit us. And Tommy has been there from the start as well, and the lads have been as well. So I think all that has come together, and finally we're getting the results. And yeah, look, we're just delighted with how the season went anyways. And I think just everyone around us is proud, and Athlone are like looking forward to the cup final. So yeah, look, we're just delighted with how the season is going and the core players we have.
I know you'll say it's a different competition, but what do you take out of the 3 games you've had with Shelbourne this year? You won 1, lost 1, and drawn 1. What do you take out of them?
Well, the draw for me isn't a great game, but
I didn't want to say that.
We'll move on swiftly. I know, look, these things happen in football. Like, it's not going to lie, it did knock my confidence, and it did knock me a bit. But look, Tommy was very good to me at that time, and when I came into training the next session, he came and talked to me straight away, and that did make me feel better. Like, I thought I let the whole team down. I thought it was the end of the world, but no, look, I appreciate Tommy talking to me that time, and it really did help me out. But yeah, like, I think we bet them 2-0. We did play fierce well that day. But look, anything can happen on the day. Like, that's what all the lads are telling us. Like, even they deservedly bet us the first time. We just weren't up for it at all. I think that was one of our first games, if I can remember properly. And they were out. Like, they were very, very good that day. I think they did give us a bit of a shock after that game. But yeah, look, anything can happen on the day, and we're just hoping for the best, to be honest.
Don't forget, you got player of the match when you played them the second time after the penalty when you beat them. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Shels, of course, League Champions last year, League Champions this year, run very close by yourselves and a couple of other teams, to be fair. The gap seems to have closed maybe in terms of where they were, where the top sides have been over the last few years, and you've managed to bridge that really comfortably. You go into this cup final. I think if you looked at it on paper, given the history of the two teams, people would look at Athlone and go, well, they're odds on to win this. But I think realistically, you go into this probably as evens to take the title home and take the cup home. How scary is that, given where you would have started the season? Because nobody would have had you level to win a game against Shels in the cup final at the end of the season. Then. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But to be honest, I think being underdogs would suit us better. Like, I know everyone's saying, oh, it'd be a close game and all, but like, realistically, everyone knows Shelbourne more than Athlone. Like, Shelbourne have, like, they won back-to-back leagues, and that introduced them. That's a hard thing to do. So they are a well-established team and club. So yeah, look, going into the final, like, it's going to be tough, but we've confidence. Like everyone says, like, we don't fear anyone. We respect everyone. Shelbourne are a great team, but we'll be going in nothing to lose. So yeah, look, we're just really looking forward to it.
Has having games on television in the build-up to the cup final helped?
Yeah, it has, to be fair. Like, well, as Tommy and the lads were saying to us, like, all of our games are on LOI TV, so it's nothing really changed. I know it's on national TV and all that, but we just have to think about it's the same game. It's another game that we need to win.
Yeah, it's a big weekend for the club, and I suppose it's going to be enjoyable. And maybe, as you mentioned, that disappointment with the drawing game against Shels, it's another opportunity to maybe get that little bit of a revenge on them. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute cracker. Listen, Jessica, thanks for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you on the show. Best luck to you and your teammates ahead of your first ever senior cup final. It has a nice little sound to
it. Very exciting. Thanks many for having me.
No problem, Jessica. Thanks for joining us. Jessica Hennessy there. Aaron, we've both seen Athlone play over the last few years. You mentioned it's not necessarily easy on the eye at times, but by God, is it effective?
Absolutely, it's effective. And the thing is, they're coming into a side this season who've conceded a lot of goals from being turned and being caught on the hop with Shelbourne have. So if they can get the ball up to the likes of Emily Corbett and Madison Gibson quickly and use their wide players, they could cost Shelbourne an awful lot of trouble. And I think that's the interesting thing is the fact that they've got that monkey off their back with the beating Wexford, beating Peamount, beating Shels this season that they'd never done before. So that sort of takes a lot of the fear off them. Yes, it's a cup final, which adds its own extra pressures, but the biggest thing is, like, Tommy will have them well and truly fired up, and they've nothing to lose. It's pretty much a free hit for them. If they're not successful, they'll have finished second in the league, second in the cup. You'll class that as an absolutely unbelievable season. But like, who knows what's going to happen on Sunday? And that's the exciting thing, for the fact that the last two games against them, yes, they probably should have beaten Shelbourne in that 1-1 draw with the late penalty for handball, but they didn't, and they went down to Athlone Town Stadium, where they were comfortable enough winners that day. They looked as though they had Shelbourne run out of ideas in the second half, and if they can keep it tight for the first half and keep it 0-0 or be 1-0 up at the break, they go into the second half with a great chance. And the whole thing for them is they're going to have to keep Shelbourne quiet early and not let Shelbourne get up a bit ahead of steam. And I think the fact they've had a consistent team selection throughout the year will help, because the players would have played a lot together, and it makes for a great cup final. It makes for an exciting cup final, one I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention it when she was on the show. I know she's left the green room as well, so I hope she's not still listening. But 2 points was the margin of victory at the end of the league. That game, 3-point swing. Just saying.
Yeah, but there's also times where Jessica Hennessy has absolutely bailed Athlone out, and that's the difference. I think for me, she's been a standout player in defence this year, and I thought she's been impressive throughout the season, and she's one of my top picks in defence for the year, and I thought she was brilliant throughout the year. And I seen her after the game in tears after the 1-1 draw with Shelbourne, but the fact she went and got player of the match the very next time they played just shows her testament and her character, that she didn't let that mistake or that error come back and haunt her. And I think that's the sign of a really good player. And I think from her personally, to see how far she's come this year is absolutely massive. She's come on so much and improved so much. So have a lot of the Athlone players. A lot of the Athlone players have got a lot better. And the biggest thing that they have this year is they have more experience in the National League. I think for a long time, that's what they were lacking. Sometimes in big games, they just couldn't close it out. They didn't have the nous to close it out, where this year they've closed them out and looked convincing closing them out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have to agree with you. I wasn't saying that individually. I'm just saying that's how small the margins were in the league race this year. And I think,
but you look at it from a Shelbourne point of view. The late goal against Cork, the late goal against Sligo when Kiva scored in the 92nd minute, the Megan Smith Lynch one against Cork was the 80 odd minute. They've had times where they've pulled late rabbits out of their hat. But the thing that reminds me about that Sligo game in particular was the players he was bringing off the bench that day, with like Abby Larkin, Gemma Quinn, Kiva Keenan was coming on. He brought on five absolute quality players off the bench just to get a result against Sligo. And I think from a Shelbourne point of view, they've shown their determination at times to push till the end. It hasn't always worked for them, but that's the sign of a true champion. But they've got an up and coming dog, hungry dog who wants to take that crown, and it's gonna be a battle, and it's gonna be a game that could be decided on very, very small margins.
Yeah, actually, just to confirm, by the way, we didn't mention it with Jessica at all. They did actually win last weekend. It was a 2-1 victory in Dalymount Park against Bohemians. I think it's the first time we've had someone on the show and not asked them about their most recent game. So much stuff going on in the league at the moment. But Emily Corbett with the opener in that game, Kira Bates-Crosby with the equaliser, and I can't remember off the top of my head who managed to get the other goal for the winner for Athlone. It evades me now, but it will come to me in a second. Actually have it here on the site. It is Scarlett Heron got the winner with 13 minutes left.
That's another young player who's come into the Athlone side this season and has impressed massively. I think Tommy, he's done a lot of great recruiting and getting players. And the biggest problem for Tommy, and he's going to kill us for saying this, is he's going to find it hard to hold on to a lot of these players because the big clubs are going to come sniffing and they're going to come looking and seeing what they can offer these players to take them away. And
well, hang on a minute. The big clubs, second in the league, cup final. Athlone are one of the big clubs now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. The team who've been the established ones. Like, there's no reason why Athlone can't do this again next year. If they keep that core group, there's no reason why they can't push on. And like, you look at the age profile of a lot of their players. The likes of Maureen Devaney, still quite young. Gillian Keenan, still quite young. Emily Corbett, still young. Jessica Hennessy, still young. They have a young core. It's not as if they've got a bunch of older players, older junior players who've married well into it, or players who've spent years in the league. They got a lot of youngsters, and their underage teams are doing well as well. Which you'll feel a blend of a couple coming through to them for the next couple of years, and like, the future's bright there. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, you look at the underage leagues. I think there's a lot of different winners this year in the different competitions, and they will looking to feed into their clubs over the next year or two, and we could unearth another couple of gems.
Yeah, I think I expect to see Athlone relatively competitive for the next few years, and I think the main reason for that is they've actually bought into the education side of it, and the link up with the local IT, and there's some girls in Galway as well, but they've made themselves available and they've committed to being in that general region for the next couple of years, and I think that's going to be key. If Athlone
didn't
together.
Didn't the college side win the Premier the Premier division? I think they beat Galway in the final of the Premier in the league this year, which just shows you the quality that they've got in the college system, as you say, and if they can continue to attract more and more players there, it'll help Athlone massively.
Well, let's move past Athlone for a moment. Of course, second place in the league, very impressive. But the two teams who had real ambitions of winning the league and had control in their own hands, they met down in Ferrycarrig Park, live on TG Cahir. Wexford versus Shels. It was billed as the clash of the ages. Didn't maybe quite live up in terms of the competitive nature of it. It was on the play, but the scoreboard kind of told probably an unfair story of Shels' dominance, but 4-0 in the end. Shels won the league comfortably, as it turned out. Like, the loss probably of Della Doherty in the previous game probably cost Wexford some experience at the back, but it's like, what can you say? Shels champions again.
But you look at it was just a run in the second half where they just got on them and they just went boom, 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 hit three quick goals. Alex Cavan obviously with the first and the second half, then Abby Larkin, then Megan Smith-Lynch finished it off. But there were some nice goals as well. That was the thing, and they were duly deserved. And I thought Shelbourne in the second half were just clinical. I think the goals before half-time probably broke a lot of Wexford spirits. If you look at the chance that Wexford had when it was 0-0 from Ciara Rossler from some close range, that goes in, they lead 1-0. Could things have been different? Maybe. But I think from a Wexford point of view, the fact that they knew they had to win the game as well didn't help. If they'd beaten Peamount the week previous, the draw would have been good enough. And you could see when Shelbourne scored, they were just trying to do everything. And as we'll hear when we hear from Kylie saying that they could have been there for another hour, they probably wouldn't have scored. And that was just sort of the feeling you were getting in the ground, is that Shelbourne were just, once they got the goal and went ahead just before the break, you had a feeling they were going to see it out, and they saw it out in a convincing fashion. And it was impressive from Shelbourne in the second half, just the way they done it with the 4 different goal scorers as well. Last
week you talked about how Jessie Stapleton was a centre back in your eyes. That was some footwork to create the opportunity for herself to round the keeper, stick in the back of the net.
Still think she's a centre back. She'll tell you herself. That's where she prefers to play. But the one thing I will tell you about that young lady is the character, the determination from her. A lot of players don't make that run that she makes from the Alex Kavanagh shot. She continues to run, and she has the confidence to say, if this keeper doesn't hold this, I'm going to get it. And that's the most impressive thing about it. like I spoke to her after the game, and she said she thought she'd missed. She wasn't going to get it when she took the touch. But what a finish! She couldn't have put it anywhere. It was literally on a sixpence. The angle was that tight, and it was a superb finish from her. And I think the one thing I would say about her is the sky's her oyster. How far she goes is up to her. How hard she continues to work, and how much she continues to improve. Because there's no doubt she's taken 3-4 steps on this year from what she did last year. And the most amazing thing is she's still only 17.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Well, after the game, you caught up with some of the participants, both players and the managers. We're going to hear from Noel King and from Kylie Murphy of beaten side Wexford. But first, let's hear what Pearl Slattery, captain of the side that won the league on Saturday evening, had to say about their little adventure this season.
You've just won another Women's National League title, captain your Shelbourne side to back-to-back Women's National League titles with a dramatic finish on the final day of the season. Must be hard to let it sink in.
Yeah, look, it's an unbelievable feeling. Last year was dramatic, you knew that, you were there. And this year's probably the opposite. You know, there's a lot of pressure on us, let's be real, coming into tonight and the last few weeks. We had to win against, you know, a tricky DLR side and then a tricky Sligo side, and then to come down to Wexford tonight, put that performance on, it's just unbelievable. What can I say about this group? Top quality.
You had 4 different goal scorers and some superb finishes as well. It wasn't as if it was one player stood out, it was every player was superb on the night.
Yeah, look, we knew coming down to Wexford it's always tough, but we always know if we're on it we can, you know, really hurt teams and beat anyone, and have 4 scorers tonight down in Wexford, it's unbelievable. But to me, to sum up this squad, that's what it's about. You know, people doubted us, we hit a bit of a dip at a certain stage, but I think every team, Ireland hits a bit of a dip during the league, and it's how you react. And look, as I've said to many other people, you know, losing the girls at mid-season break, like Saoirse, Chloe, Jess Sue, I don't think any other teams up there competing, never mind winning the title. And to me that sums up this group, because not just the 15 who played tonight and came on, there's other girls on that bench who've waited their turn, who played their part throughout the season, and I'm just unbelievably proud of them.
Talk to me about that slump, because it must have been hard. People were writing you off, people were saying you're done, you're gone, you could have had the title dead and buried and sold up with months to spare.
Yeah, look, people who know me and the team, we never knew we never thought we were going to win it by a large margin. We have a lot of respect for the other teams in the league. They were never just going to let us win at Ireland, you know what I mean? And look, the other teams hit a bit of a dip, and we were very good for the first part of the season and a little bit of the second. And look, a couple of draws, Athlone, Sligo beat us. And look, sometimes teams in the league just have their day, they have their moment. Sometimes we're not on it, sometimes we play well and don't win, and that's football. But to me, it's always about the next action, the next session, the next game, and I think we're one of the best teams at doing that, just forgetting about the week that's gone and dealing with what's coming. And look, I'm just unbelievably proud of everyone at the club, everyone who helps us out at Talca Park on match days. There's too many to mention. The staff are incredible, this group of players, and look, it's very hard to win back-to-back titles, and we've done it down in Wexford, which again is just unbelievable.
2 things before I let you go. First one, doing it with such a special group of friends, because you played with so many of them for so long.
Yeah, unbelievable. The likes of Rach, Noel, and look, Gemma Quinn deserves a lot of credit as well, coming back, you know, after hadn't played in a couple of years. But I think all the young ones deserve a lot of credit as well. They keep us young. Don't know how many years we have left in us, but they definitely help. So look, it's a group effort. They're all my friends. I love them all, love them to bits. We give up so much. That's why, you know, you're in 9-10 months of the year. You miss out on things. You're training 3 times a week. It's 4 nights like this to celebrate together. And look, we'll enjoy tonight. We'll refresh in the morning, and we go for the cup then, because we want
the last one. The decision to get Jessie involved, you could see how much the recent injuries he's had has been a setback for. But as a club, how did that come about? And talk to us about bringing her up to celebrate witches, because she was a massive part in the first half of the season.
Yeah, look, a lot of girls, even last season, the likes of Bambi and stuff, who went abroad, and you know, Jess, Chloe, Saoirse, who played a massive part, as you said. And then look, a few weeks ago, obviously Jess we were incredibly proud of what she's done over at West Ham. She was flying, and to get the injury is very unfortunate, but we knew she was back the last couple of weeks. She was at the DLR game and that out supporting us, and we kind of said to her to come down. She was going to come down on the bus and then couldn't. And look, just to see her there tonight, to be able to give her the medal, it's just an unbelievable feeling. She's an unbelievable player. We miss her. I miss her terrible. She was a great friend as well. And look, it's just been an unbelievable year since the start of the season. As I said, to lose those players, to continue going, And everyone at the club, you know, this is like the icing on the cake. You know, we're back-to-back champions. The men are in a cup final. We have a cup final to look forward to. I want to wish our under 17s the best of luck tomorrow, and the people stay at Talca Park as well. What more can I say? Unbelievable.
Brilliant, mate. Well done.
Thanks.
Kylie Murphy, the result didn't go your way tonight, but considering where you were this season and the fight backs you've had this season, you must be just extremely proud of your side.
Yeah, absolutely. It epitomises it exactly. Just proud. The girls have been so relentless all year, and you know, we've had to deal with an awful lot of shit. To be fair, you know, a lot of ups and downs, and to put ourselves in this position the last game of the season was it was pretty special, to be fair. You know, I just think tonight just wasn't our night. The better team won. Just like, I think if we stayed there for another hour, I felt like we weren't going to score. But look, we fought and we done our very best, and that's all I can ask from the girls. And it is what it is. And you know, you just have to take it on the chin now with her for a couple of days, and we just get on with it then and have a bit of a rest.
When you look at where you are tonight, considering it was the last day of the season, playing for a league title, at one stage it looked as though Shelbourne could have went 13-14 points clear, and then to bring it all the way back to the very end, I think one of the big turning points is the result in Talca Park as well. It just shows that when you got a little bit of a sniff of the potential, you went running and went relentless at it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was, I think, the last game just before the mid-season break, and it was unfortunate. And I think we had two draws then not soon after it, and felt like it was the draws that nearly killed us all year. We just silly draws, you know, that conceding in the last few minutes and things like that, you know, just too many times we slipped up. But I mean, we say it so many times, like it's a Wexford tradition, and we'll fight to the bitter end. And I mean, we didn't give a great account of ourselves today, and we all know that. But I mean, we win together, we lose together. Nick said it after the game. A family is a family, and that's when you win together and you lose together, and it's just the way it is. And it's really unfortunate, and it's really, really sad, and we're very disappointed. But I mean, credit to Shels, they were the better team on the day, and it just is what it is.
Despite the loss, there's a lot of positives in terms of, you look at in recent years, Wexford have probably had a very experienced team. There's been a lot of youngsters this year that have come in and made massive marks on it, and it's probably exciting to see what the next group are going to do.
Yeah, of course it is. It's really exciting. You can see, I suppose, the difference in our benches, the girls that they're bringing off the bench and the girls we are. But again, it's biding our time now and waiting for those players to filter through. And you see with the likes of, say, Emma and Jess, like the last couple of games, they're starting up top for us, which is massive, you know, and they're doing really well. So, and there's a lot more youngsters on the sideline that probably could have and maybe should have come on and tonight and in a few games beforehand. They're really, really good youngsters, and you know, when you have them coming into training and they're under 19s, but they, if anything, they don't let training down. They actually give it a lift. They're incredible girls, like, and they're really chomping at the bit and really good attitudes and never complain about not coming on, and they're there every week, and it's really exciting to see. It's really good for Wexford and for the future of Wexford.
932 people in Ferry Park for the women's game.
Yeah,
massive.
It's massive. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And the fact TG Carr as well saying they're potentially going to break 500,000 views total for the season this year.
That's amazing. It's great. Like it's on the up. So I mean, we just need to, what we've done this season, it needs to be brought 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps further now next season, and make it bigger again, and it'll keep growing. But it's very exciting for women's soccer in Ireland.
Brilliant, Kylie. Cheers. Back-to-back women's National League titles, but the biggest part of it all is the fact that you left probably one of your strongest performances of the season till the last day of the season. Last week, you can see in the post-match, you were telling your players one more game. They delivered for you.
They delivered to themselves. They're very, very good. They're professional. There was a slump, but I think gradually we've lost some for various different reasons, and then we've gradually improved game after game after game. And I think last week was very good, but I agree with you, today was one of the best of the season. To come to Wexford, who can also win the league on the same day, and to beat them 4-0 in their own home, it's just a great achievement for all the girls, and I'm so proud of them.
it must be a special one as well, considering like last year was sort of maybe not expected, where this year you knew there was a lot of pressure on you, and to come and deliver with it when all the eyeballs were on, especially what's happened with the women's game in recent months with the World Cup qualification.
Yeah, the pressure was on, but you have to handle pressure if you want to win anything, because eventually you're going to be put under pressure, and that's exactly what happened. Wexford were decent enough in the first half, to be fair, but I think once the second goal went in their head, I think they knew that they needed 3 goals, because a draw would have put them out of the competition. So it was a great bonus and a great plus to have that goal average in their heads.
Probably changed the half-time team talk when Jess Stapleton puts that in the net. But the biggest thing you'd have to say is the composure, because she took it wide past the keeper to give herself a chance.
Jess is a tremendous young talent. She's bound for greater things, there's no question. I've watched her now this year and last year, and there's such improvement in her game and her maturity. She's getting better. She's contributing great things now, and I think she'll have a wonderful career.
And 4 different goal scorers as well tonight.
I didn't realise that, yeah. Whenever I think of it, yeah, it's great, isn't it? So they're popping in from everywhere.
In terms of your season, it's not over yet. Last year you won the league, probably then the cup was a bit of a disappointment not to go and do it. I'm sure you'll be trying to maybe do things a little bit differently this year, will you?
Well, I think we've sort of overdone it last year when we won the league. The celebrations were high because it was our first championship. We'd qualified for Europe, and I think now they're a little bit more experienced. We realised that we ran amok a bit and I don't think we'll see that. I think we'll see ourselves prepared properly for it. Athlone are a very, very good team. There's some great players and they pose a huge threat. They could have won the league tonight had this been a draw. They'd have been a playoff for the league, so we know that cup final won't be easy.
But while you talk about not overdoing it, it's still important though for your players to actually celebrate and enjoy.
Have a look around. There's champagne pouring in every village.
You'll be looking forward to just getting in amongst you.
Yeah, no, of course we have to enjoy ourselves. If you don't enjoy yourself, what do you play for? They enjoy the match, they enjoy the celebration, they enjoy the week, enjoy the cup, and then enjoy the break. All a hell of a lot of enjoyment ahead of us.
Brilliant, Noel. Cheers.
Right.
Noel King there, looking pretty enjoyed himself. You had a good night, I'd say, on Saturday evening. Your thoughts on the game and Shels and how they managed to wrap it all up?
Yeah, just before I do that though, Breifne, just want to send our condolences to Liam Ward of Shelbourne. His father, Liam Ward Sr., passed away. Liam is someone who's highly involved with the Shelbourne women, does so much for them. Wasn't at the game on Saturday, and you could see how much he'd have enjoyed that. Just, considering somebody who've had a lot of dealings with and doing things around the season, and just for the likes of that, when you hear the news to come out, hopefully that gives a bit of light, a bit of a takeaway the sadness that he's going through. But like from a Shelbourne point of view, it was convincing, and I think the fact that they got over the slips, like we talked about at one stage, would they get catched when Wexford were 4 points up? Everybody probably thought that's dead and buried, and they just kept going on and driving on till the end. I think it was one that the league, it's great to see that it was so close in terms of not a lot in it, and I think it'll definitely be a league that'll be remembered. But if Shelbourne hadn't won it, I wonder would there be many questions asked the same way there was for the fact that they'd gone through a couple of massive slumps that had seen them lose big points at big times.
We've seen those slumps affect Peamount last year, Shels this year. Shels still got across the line, so it'd be interesting to see how that pans out going into next year. But it's super exciting, and in terms of if the teams can keep their players and progress on, I think we could see a very, very exciting competition next year. Shamrock Rovers, of course, thrown into the mix. What are they going to look like next season? All remains to be seen. There was, of course, 3 other games played last weekend as well. It wasn't all just about the top of the table. We might take them in alphabetical order as I look at them here. Galway United and Peamount. Peas, of course, out of contention because of the defeat the previous weekend. 6-0 winners, though. They pretty much came out and said, don't forget about us. We haven't gone away just yet.
Probably didn't expect it to be that convincing, especially everything was built around its Galway. Galway WFC's last games before Galway United take over, and probably didn't go out the way they would have wanted it with a convincing Peamount performance. Hat-trick from Anya O'Gorman sealed the golden boot for her as well, and I think that was a little bit of a statement from Anya to say, listen, I'm still there, I'm still here, I'm still scoring, because a lot of people are talking about Emily Corbett winning, and I think that just put a gloss on it. And I think from a Peamount point of view, it was a really good performance. It was a clinical performance, and any day you go down west and come back with 3 points and a big goals haul is always a successful day.
Absolutely, yeah. Also put some of the ghosts of the previous end of season game to rest as well. Sligo, of course, another Connacht game. Sligo versus DLR Waves, and it was I suppose Kate Mooney really dominated this one. 5-1 winners down in the showgrounds. A hat trick from Kate Mooney. She'll be happy with finishing her season off like that. You know, we had her on the show earlier in the year.
Yeah, some nice goals as well from Kate as well, and I think that was the thing from DLR, the fact that Galway lost, they finished ahead of Galway as well. So for them to finish with 2 wins on the bounce, you probably heard me saying that so many times this year that they hadn't done it. They done it in their first 2 games and their last 2 games. Consistency's probably been their biggest thing this season, but they finished with 2 wins to finish in 5th place, best of the rest outside the top 4. And I think for them, they'll have to be happy with that. Obviously, they would have wanted to break into that top 4 or even the top 3, but when it wasn't looking like they were going to do it, the fact that they were able to finish out and get 5th is good for them. From a Sligo point of view, the season's really petered out in the second half of the season. Disappointed. They've had a couple of injuries. They've lost players, and other players haven't been available and things like that. It's been a learning curve for Sligo. There's no doubt about it. Like even the performance they put in against Shelbourne last week, I sort of thought they'd back it up with a decent performance this week, but DLR were just too good on the day, and as you say, it was the Kate Mooney show.
Yes, Sligo, of course. I think they had 20 points racked up after 14 or 15 games. They finished the season on 20 points, so it did. Like they set the world alight in the first couple of weeks. They beat Wexford, they beat Shels. They really marked their arrival into the league, and then I think reality set in a little bit in the second half of the season. People kind of knew what to expect. That being said, we're going to talk about 2 people who've been involved in Sligo since the start this year, who very deservingly got nominated for awards in the end of season awards. We'll talk about that in just a few moments, but first, we'll wrap up the games. Treaty and Cork, they met down in the Markets Field. Cork ran out winners 3-0. As you would probably expect, given the way the seasons have gone for both sides. I think both will be quite happy just to draw a line in the sand and move on and see how they can regroup for next year.
Yeah, Aoife Cronin scoring twice for against their old club as well. I think, as we've said previously, wrapping Danny Murphy up next season is the most important thing, because I think he can definitely make an impact on that Cork team, because there's no doubt they've matured both tactically and in performances in the second half of the season. Probably haven't picked up some of the points they would have wanted, and it was good for them just to finish off with a win. Treaty, it's been a hard slog for Donald Reardon and his side. A lot of youngsters, they'll have learned a lot, and hopefully they can take a lot from that. And with a good off season, they can show improvements. But it's gonna be hard for Treaty. They're gonna need to try and get a couple of players in and see how they bridge that gap to the ones just above them. But from a Cork City point of view, I think there's definitely potential to move up that table next season with some of the players they have, and they've shown it in some of the performances in the second half of the season. So I think they'll be just looking to rest up and get a good pre-season. The only problem is at the moment is we don't really know when the league is going to start yet, especially with the World Cup on next year. We haven't really got an idea as to when we're going to start. So once we get that sort of date, then teams will be able to plan their pre-seasons and stuff. And I think, as you said, with Rovers coming in, I think it's going to throw a lot of spanners into the work. Teams are going to try and see what they can do to get players that there's going to be competition. You'll see Rovers, Shels, Bows, DLR, they'll all be trying to get the same types of players. Peamount, they'll all be trying to get the players off each other, and it's a case of who can hold their players and which you don't lose, and will be the team that'll start the season out in favours. And I think it's going to be a compelling off season and one to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, the rumour mill is in hyperdrive at the moment, and I think I expect a lot of movement from club to club. I think Rovers are going to pull a lot of players from everywhere, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how teams fill gaps that are left. Whether Rovers are going after established players or believing in youth and bringing to a youth team, I don't know which strategy works best. All shall be revealed in the next 3 to 4 months as we wait for the next season to kick off. Before we do that, though, of course, Galway United, they've announced the application process for their women's manager's job. Would we expect to see Alan Murphy apply for that? We know he's been in the men's position before. Will he automatically be the favourite to go in and take the job with Galway United?
I'd say he'd be the favourite, but it'd be interesting. I know I'm going to get a phone call as soon as we end this podcast, but I wonder will Billy Cleary put his name forward? It's another. He's had a bit of a break away from it. Could be someone else if Alan doesn't want it to come back in. What's Stephen Lally going to do? Because he was obviously in the director in an off the field role with Galway last year. It remains to be seen. I think they will definitely get applications for the role, because it's an exciting project, especially coming under the new banner. If they can get things right, there's a lot of good players in Galway and in the surrounding areas if they can tap into. So I think for the managerial appointment, they'll probably take their time. I don't think they'll rush it, and I don't know who they'll go for. Like, would you say Alan is the favourite because he was there? You'd like to think he's there. He's going to be there or thereabouts, but I don't know. I don't know. The question is, does he want it? Did things work end well with Galway United that he'd want to go back? It's there the question we'd have to ask. So I'm not sure. It'll be one to watch play out and see the names who do potentially come out.
Yeah, of course, the final thing for discussion before we wrap up tonight's show is, of course, the National League Awards nominees announced today by the FAI. We'll start at the bottom. Manager of the Year, Tommy Hewitt, has done a fabulous job in Athlone. Steve Feeney has been in there as well with Sligo. We talked about the impact they made, particularly in the first half of the season. And Noel King, who secured his second title in 2 years in the league. Three phenomenal choices. For me personally, I think though Tommy Hewitt and Steve Feeney, I feel have done more with less resources. And I think Tommy particularly, probably it would be my pick from the three, but it's so tight between the three and you can make a case for any of them.
It is, but the thing you'd have to count in as well when you're talking about Steve Feeney is I think he's going to come in as the most winning manager, one of the most winning managers from a new club in recent years as well, which is something that we normally see new teams come in, they struggle and they hit the ground running. Probably second half of the season they didn't get there where they want. Tommy Hewitt's been unbelievable what he's done with Athlone, and the thing is he's brought in a couple of players, but it's been the core nucleus for the last couple of years. And like Noel, if he wins the double this year, it'll be a massive achievement, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who actually comes out on top of that, because like there's three great choices there.
Yeah, the Young Player of the Year. Some names we've mentioned a lot on the programme over the last few months here. Muireann Devaney of Athlone Town, Jessie Stapleton of Shelbourne, and Emma Doherty of Sligo Rovers. All three have been phenomenal for their clubs this season. Emma Doherty in her first season, the other two in their sophomore seasons. But at the same time, we watched these three players mature into the league and become real assets for their clubs.
The worst problem is, Breifne, here in this situation is you could have named 6, 7, 8, because all the young players have been exceptional this year, like around the country. I'm not going to name others because it'd be disrespectful to leave some out, but I think you could have named so many, and I think the three have been named. Like Devaney has been unbelievable in the middle of the park for Athlone. Jessie Stapleton hasn't put a foot wrong for Shelbourne. She's played wherever Noel wants her, whether it's be centre back. She's played up top at times. She's played centre midfield. She hasn't said no to wherever she's going to have to go. And Emma Doherty, for somebody coming into the National League to score a lot of goals, has shown her potential. And I think she could improve a lot next year. They could all improve massively next year. And whoever wins out at M3 will be a worthy winner.
Forget that. Just been nominated. I would have. I don't think any of the three of them would mind. Of course, they want to win it, but I don't think you're losing to any of two of the other three that are nominated is a bad reflection on your own.
Like Stapleton lost out last year to Avane Clancy, so Stapleton to be nominated twice for Young Player of the Year in your first 2 years into the National League is no mean feat. It's an impressive achievement. And
what is the someone who might be in the know now can ask this question for me? What's the criteria? What's the age?
I think it's under 19.
Okay, so yeah,
so you have to be out.
Yeah, so these players will all be touching that age profile. Emma Doherty might have another year in that age grade, so maybe she might be
Stapleton's there. I think Devaney's, is she just 18?
She'd be under 19 next year. I'm not sure exactly.
She's still international under 19 next year because she's with Dave Connell, the three of them are with Dave Connell this year.
Yeah. So absolutely. But in terms of the senior grades, I'm not going to ask you to put your head in the plate because there's just too much. I couldn't pick between the three. They've all had phenomenal years. They all deserve it, in my opinion. In terms of, probably the Leitrim routes would probably tell me to go for Muireann Devaney, but I think the three have been phenomenal. So I'm not going to go completely biased on that side. Up top in the main one, Women's National League Player of the Year, Shels, up for a double. No player nominated. What's that about? Emily Corbett, Anya Roman, Ella Malloy. Three unbelievable talents, 3 phenomenal years.
Yeah, but I think because Jessie Stapleton was nominated in the Young Player of the Year, that's why she's not in the senior category. So Otherwise, you could have made a case for her to be in the senior category. The only other real one for me for Shelbourne who could have made an argument, and I'd say she was probably close, is Jess Gargan, because Jess Gargan has been superb at fullback for Shelbourne. Probably the injury may have cost it just a little bit, just at the Champions League to miss 5 or 6 games. She only really come back for the last 2. Probably that's what's caught her out a little bit. Like the biggest thing is all these sort of things. This is the one thing I'll say to people. I've read a lot of comments on social media today. Is they're not picked when the season ends. They're not picked. So, for example, they weren't picked on Sunday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. They would have been picked 2 or 3 weeks ago when there's 4 teams still in it. So it's hard to say just because they've won the league they're going to be there. You know, I get that, and I understand where sometimes you see the player of the year coming from the winning team. But the problem with the National League this year is there was no team that absolutely blitzed the league where you can say for straight off the player of the year has to be from here. Like you look at last year, for an example, Kylie Murphy was a standout player. You know, we could say Kylie Murphy, whereas you could have nominated 10 players for senior player of the year. The likes of the Jess Gargans, Sive Doyles and P-Mount. There's a lot you could have nominated, and it's difficult trying to when they're trying to condense it to 3 players. But it's a mix of a player vote and a panel vote, so it's not just a panel deciding who it is. So it's a mixture of both, and I think that's probably where the 3 have come from.
Well, listen, it's a worthy recipients of nominations for that award. Of course, the award ceremony will take place on November the 24th. And we'll also be hearing who are in the team of the season on that particular night, along with the Underage League Player of the Year. So a big night at the Gibson Hotel for that awards on the 24th of November. I'm sure Aaron will have the dicky bow on and the tux sorted for that night. But listen, Aaron, it's been a pleasure as always. We, of course, will have full coverage of the cup final on Sunday on the platform. Sean Comer is going to be covering the game for us, along with Diarmuid Carney, 2 of our reporters. Aaron, of course, will be at the game as well. I'm otherwise engaged. I won't be able to make the trip to Tala, but we will have the 3 lads, I suppose, on the show next week, chatting about the entire game. We'll have one more episode to go before the end of the season. I know it's tough. We'll hit number 30, and that'll be it. We'll be back next year when we don't quite know yet when the league's going to start, but we will be back next year to have a look around and see what's going to be different in the league next year. Plenty of things, I would imagine. Before we do sign off, though, one final look, just for posterity's sake, at the league table. I will bring it up just to confirm what we've been talking about for the last hour or so. Shels, they are the league champions as they were in 2021. They've repeated the feat in 2022, and the league table, as you see there, looks quite well for some clubs. Others will be looking at that going, thinking of what might have been for them, and maybe planning and plotting for the future. Can we see the team in 7th in the top 2 next year? Will Bohemians be looking to plough up that table? We don't know what the future holds for the next few months in the Women's National League, but we do know that Sunday is the place to be is Tala Stadium for the FAI Women's Cup Final. It's a great day out for anyone who's involved in the game, whether your team is in it or not. Kickoff is at 3 o'clock. It's live on television, but if you can get to the ground, if you have a young one or a little one who likes football, try and get her wherever you are in the country, get her up and get her to experience what it's like. You never know, maybe in 10 or 15 years' time, she might be there herself. Aaron, enjoy the game on Sunday. It's going to be a cracker, and we'll talk to you again next week.
See you next week.